Hey, welcome to the Nika Said podcast. And if you're new here, I'm Nika Williams, a planner girl, mom to an 8-year-old husband, and a diehard Atlanta Falcons fan. At the end of 2016, I was happily fired from Amazon, which jumped off this online journey. After signing 2 clients within 10 days and booking out my services as a virtual assistant, I was thrown as the Facebook queen and Coach Nika was born. All that to say, I'm a virtual assistant and a VA coach helping women realize they don't have to choose between work and their family. You can have both. And if you're looking for financial freedom while also having family focus, this is the podcast for you. You'll learn how to grow a business that fits into your personal life and not the other way around. Welcome back to another episode of the Nika Said podcast. And today I want to talk about something super important and something that you want to implement as soon as you start working with clients. This is a step that a lot of virtual assistants skip. And especially when they're in the beginning stages of the business, they're just ready to sign that client, ready to work with that client, or really ready to deliver results. But if you skip this step, it is super crucial to your business, and it can also come back and bite you in the butt. I've seen a lot of virtual assistants ask about this inside of Facebook groups, inside of my coaching program. So I was like, this is something that I have to touch on because it's so important that you have this key piece in your business. And I want to talk about the 3 contract must-haves that you need in your virtual assistant services business. A lot of virtual assistants miss this key piece inside of their contract beyond payment structure, package structure, services that you're offering. Of course, have all those pieces inside of your contract, but key pieces that you want to have inside of your contract is things that you are going to use to make your working relationship better with your clients moving forward. And a lot of virtual assistants I see struggle with how to communicate like time off, vacation time, sick time, etc. Because this is not something that they are communicating in the beginning of the conversation with potential clients. I also have these pieces inside of my contract, but also I want to make sure we're touching on these pieces before we even get to the contract. I want to make sure my potential clients are well aware of my policies and how I work with clients before we even sign on the dotted line, because this is how you wean out and vet potential clients who are best fit for your business and best fit for your business structure. A lot of virtual assistants have a fear around asking for time off or being off. And this is something that can make it easier for you to be able to communicate if it's already inside of your contract, and you can easily touch on it again on your sales calls. Because a lot of virtual assistants are coming from a corporate space where you have a certain time that you're able to get off. Of course, like your clock out time, and then you have maybe 2 weeks of vacation time. You have these minimal periods of time throughout the year that you're able to get off. But it's harder to be able to communicate that, or there's discomfort to be able to communicate that because you may feel like I'm asking for a lot of time off. But this is about creating a business that creates a lifestyle that you really want. If you want to be tied to your computer, or you want to be missing events or missing vacations, then you can easily do that in your 9 to 5 in corporate. I know you guys already know about that. And so I talk to a lot of aspiring virtual assistants who are working in corporate and they're building a business due to the lack of time off. And this question is asked as well, as far as how do you build a business when you're also working a 9 to 5? Because you have this structured schedule with your 9 to 5. And so and this is a question that a lot of virtual assistants ask, is like, will clients be okay if I'm not available during the day? And this is a piece of my contract must-haves, so you can easily be able to work your 9 to 5, be very focused at your 9 to 5, and then also build that virtual assistant business on the side, and also focus on that on the side until it becomes your full-time business. So virtual assistants really want to spend more time with their family and simply enjoy things outside of work, but there's fears that are creeping up
from their business will stop if they're not on at all times. Profits will stop. Clients will be upset with their different policies and business structure, or they maybe start to look for a replacement because you're not available. And so, how do you handle this? How do you have that conversation up front on those sales calls? So, yesterday we're going to talk about having certain things in your contract, my three must haves, but also these things should be communicated before you even get to the contract, like I have already stated, because you really want to have that conversation up front on sales calls so that the potential clients know how your working relationship is, know how your business is structured. And you need to also be okay with upsetting people, or just not even upsetting them, but just they are not your match. Like, they don't have the same expectations or lifestyle that you are trying to create. If the client wants you to be tied to your computer working on their business 365 days of the year, like, is that the kind of client you really want? Is that really the business that you want to have? Like, when you shift from corporate into full-time entrepreneurship or full-time business owner, do you want to be tied to your computer all the time, feeling anxious anytime you want to step away? And you start to eliminate people or potential clients that have these unrealistic expectations for you. And you do that from the beginning in the sales calls by communicating this on the sales calls, but then also having it inside of contracts where people can refer back to, and also where they acknowledge and agree that this is how we will go forward with our working relationship. And so the number one thing I always talk about with my potential clients, and it's included in my contracts every single time, is office hours. So my office hours are when I am most available. So this does not mean 100% all the time. This means on a normal basis, business hours are these business hours. So make sure you have those office hours in there. And then what I also do is I have a communication response time. So 24 hours is when you will definitely have a response from me. So this is also something that I talk to my coaching girls about, because a lot of them are going from corporate where you feel the anxious need to immediately reply to people emails and DMs, Slack messages, whatever it looks like, as soon as they send them in. No, you're working on tasks, projects, so you can't just drop everything to respond to an email or a message as soon as it comes in. So having those office hours, yes, this is when I should be working on tasks or when I'm available for communication, but also there is a 24-hour communication response time. So you would definitely receive a response from me within 24 business hours. Offices have this in place, especially when you're leaving a message, a voice message, or an email. They will let you know, hey, we'll get back to you in 24 to 48 business hours. So this is normal policy. Your clients, normal people, have faced this or come into contact with this type of policy. So this is nothing new to them. It's something that you definitely want to implement in your own business. The second thing I always like to add into my contracts is turnaround time. So this is another thing that is going to allow you to have that flexibility and freedom, even when you're building a business alongside of your corporate job, or even if you're a full-time business owner, having that turnaround time. Just because a client signs a task or emails you a task, that does not mean in 30 minutes I'm gonna have it done. And in my contracts, I include there is a 24 to 48 business hours turnaround time. So this allows you to have that job and then work on things in the evening, on the weekends, on lunch breaks, whatever it looks like for you. I know I have a lot of moms in my audience too. So during nap time, when kids are at school, whatever that looks like for you, having that turnaround time is something that you have to have inside of your contracts. Now, I can hear you guys asking, like, bigger tasks, do you turn around in 24 to 48 business hours? No, projects, bigger tasks, we agree on a deadline. We agree on a due date. So on the call, in the email, I feel like this is going to be a more hefty tab, it's going to take longer time, I will say, hey, I'll be able to turn this around in 3 days or 5 days or 6 weeks, whatever it looks like, we can agree on it at that time. So just having that inside of your contract as well for bigger tasks or bigger projects, adding that little verbiage in there is going to help you with your freedom and just working relationship with your clients. And the last thing and most important thing is the cancellation policies. Sometimes clients want to move on, or you may want to move on. You may not want to work with this client. So having that cancellation policy inside of your contract is huge. So what does a client need to do to be able to stop services, cease services, pause services, whatever it looks like for you, whatever you offer in your business? For me, I think it's a 2 week period where they will have to notify me in written. So that is normally by email, that they would like to cancel the services, and any payments that are due within that 2 week period time are still due. This is huge, and a lot of virtual assistants need to hear this. So I'm going to repeat it again. If you have a 2 week cancellation period, a 30 days cancellation period, in my contract, for me, any payments that are due within that 2 weeks, 14 days, 30 days, whatever you want to put in there, is still due. So how do you search out when do you stop services? This will end from that period of that payment. So if a payment is due and they are on a 30 day package, then that payment is due within that 2 week or 30 days, and then they will have a full 30 days to use that package of hours. And so after that, that's when the services will be canceled. So having that kind of verbiage in your contract is very important. And this is something you will want to use too, because I've also had to fire clients as well. So what do you need to do as the business owner if you do not feel like this working relationship is benefiting you? So what does that look like if you as the service provider needs to cancel the contract or cancel the services? Include those things inside of your contract. So like I said, these things will help you have a great working relationship with your clients. These are 3 things that you have to have in the contract. These are my must-haves. But this does not mean that the first time your clients see this, hear about this, is when they are reading through your contract, because we already know most of us, a lot of us do not read every single line in the contract. I address this on sales calls. I also have a welcome package that bullet points a lot of these so they can have a handy dandy little packet for them to refer back to. I like to have this communicated to my clients multiple times in multiple ways, just so they can be familiar with it. They make sure they are comfortable with this, and make sure we are both on the same page. So if you have any kind of questions, if you're working up a contract, if you need a contract template, make sure you reach out to me on Instagram, DM me at Coach Nika, because a contract is the most important part of your business when you are working and offering services. So make sure you have that, and make sure the important pieces are in that contract. So once again, if you need a contract template, make sure you reach out to me on Instagram at Coach Nika, and make sure you check back in next week for another episode of the Nika Said podcast. And until then, keep working, babe.
Thank you so much for joining me today, and make sure you check back next week for another amazing episode with actionable tips to grow your online business. In the meantime, leave a review and let me know your thoughts on today's episode. And if you want to see what I'm up to, check out my Instagram page at Coach Nika. Come hang out with other women on the same journey in the private free Facebook group, the Virtual Assistant Club. And remember, every day you're one step closer to the dream life you want. Keep going, girlfriend.